When there is 5 minutes to landing, this routine flight dramatically changed when it suddenly appears severe vibrations in the aircraft. They are so bad that the pilots can no longer read the instrument. The commander now realized that they have to make a life-threatening decision. This review is based upon the final report from the Swedish Investigation Accident Authority and an interview with the commander of the aircraft. It was November 30, 2014, when a Braathens Regional Airways, BRA, ATR 72-500 were on a return flight from Stockholm-Bromma back to Visby. On board are 2 pilots, 2 cabin crew and 51 passengers. And the commander, he is pilot flying, and the co-pilot is pilot monitoring. It's daylight, good weather, scattered clouds and brief winds in Visby, when this routine flight dramatically changed the airport. The pilots are well experienced. The commander have accumulated 7,000 hours and 3,000 on the ATR. Co-pilots has 2,400 total and 2,100 on the ATR. And when they are descending through 7,000 feet with a max speed of 250 knots, 3,200 feet per minute rate of descent, and engines at idle, pilots can feel the first vibrations in the aircraft. The commander have had those vibrations before. They could appear when you have a high-speed descent. And the countermeasure for this is to add some power and reduce the vertical rate of descent. But that did not work today. So, when the captain then takes the left engine and advance power, the engine responds normally. And when it takes the right engine, the severe vibration comes on. And it's shaking all over the aircraft. They can no longer read the instruments. And they also get a fault message saying PEC fault. This is PEC, Prop Electronic Control Fault, on the right side. They also got the master warning, a red light indicating they have a serious problem. The captain realized he just had to shut down the right engine, engine number 2. And now he will make a decision contrary to the manufacturer and the operator's procedure. He's going to shut down this engine on his own, even though he's pilot flying, and without confirmation from pilot monitoring. And he's basing that on the severe situation, no time, stress and high workload. In order to shut down an engine on the ATR, you have to pull the condition lever all the way back. And then you have to lift the latch on the condition lever. So he lifts the latch and start moving the condition lever back. But about halfway, he lost the latch. So he must do the maneuver again. So he push it up, and the second time goes all the way to fuel shut off. The engine stops and the vibration ceases immediately. The co-pilot now declared emergency to air traffic control. The captain, he calls to the cabin crew and informed them that we have shut down an engine, no further action, landing shortly. Then the captain turned to the co-pilot and said to him, by the field in sight, by the field straight ahead, no checklist, we prioritize to fly and land the aircraft. 3 minutes later, they safely touched down in Visby Airport. Afterwards, when the technician opened up the engine cowlings and started examining the engine, they could see that the engine mounts, which is 2 big metal plates, normally have rubber between them. This rubber pad was completely gone. So it was metal to metal like this, which is absolutely no good. Further on, the combustion chamber was cracked and the AC generator axe was off. Shaft was off. And in the investigation later on, then they found out that the reason for this was one of the 6 blades, which is rotating around its own axis like this, had a mechanical fault. There was a broken part inside, so that blade could not move any longer. That's why I had those severe vibrations. Now I'm going to go through what the procedure is if the pilots face a situation where they have to shut down an engine in flight. So, like I said before, you divide the flying. So you have one pilot is pilot flying and one pilot monitoring. In this case, the captain is pilot flying, and his only job is only to fly the aircraft, maneuver the aircraft. And that is just to keep focus on flying. The other pilot, he then handles the shutdown, read the checklists, communicate with air traffic control. That's the procedure. And before you shut down an engine, you have made an analysis between the pilots, and then you finally come to the conclusion, in this case then the right engine, number 2. So then the co-pilot, he put his hand on the condition lever, and pilot flying then just look down and say confirm engine number 2, and then they shut down engine number 2. That is the procedure. And to give an example, this procedure applies to, for instance, let's say that during a flight they rotate, leave the runway, and just after lifting off, one engine suddenly stops. This is a procedure that is trained, all pilots train this over and over and over again in the simulator. Also, the manufacturer has an approval that the aircraft can take off with max takeoff weight and suddenly have an engine failure. So that's all fine, no problem with that. If that happens, the pilot monitoring has 2 tasks. Number 1, that is to verify that the props have gone into feather, meaning the prop blades are giving least drag. The second thing it checks is that the live engine has increased power a little bit. If those 2 criteria are met, you can just continue flying. So the pilot flying, you can even engage the autopilot. And then you climb to safe altitude. And that could be maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, perhaps 10 minutes away. And then when you find that safe level, everything is sorted out, then the pilot flying, then fly the aircraft, and pilot monitoring do the shutdown, like I described before. So here is now the investigator's conclusion of this serious incident. The captain's decision to prioritize to fly the aircraft instead of reading checklist was a good decision. They also say that if the pilot had had better communication, they could have solved this problem much quicker. They also say that the left engine was momentarily went into feather on the way to be shut off. When I asked the captain about it, he said he cannot recall that it touched the left condition lever. However, the flight data recorder is what it is. The investigators also say that the captain did not use the information from the PEC fault to shut down the engine. But the commander said, yeah, he did, because the PEC fault indicated the right engine, and he did use that information in combination then with the vibrations on the right side to shut down the right engine. Further on, at this moment then, 2014, the manufacturer had no procedure for severe vibrations in the propellers. Also, they found out that similar incident with ATR 72500 on the right engine had the same mechanical fault at 6 occasions, 6 different aircrafts. 5 of them shut down the engine in air, and the 6th landed with the vibrations. The investigators does not agree with the prop manufacturer on why this mechanical fault happened. And the investigators has not been able to determine the cause of this fault. So here are my conclusions of this serious incident. pilots working with 3 different procedures. You have normal procedures, and if you have a deviation, you have abnormal procedures with some established maneuvers, and then you have emergency procedures, also with some established maneuvers. Beside those 3 established procedures, there is this called sort of commander's responsibility. And the only responsibility the commander have is to save human lives. Which means, if a captain, if a commander is facing a critical situation where he have to make a life-threatening decision, he also deems that it's not possible to follow the manufacturer and operator's procedures any longer, he have to do whatever he can to save human lives. So in this case, things were changing very rapidly. You have severe vibrations, you have stress, you have a high workload. There were no established procedures for the vibrations in the propeller hub, which led the captain then to make this decision that on his own, even though he was pilot flying, shut down the engine. And also the time frame on this incident, from the first vibration until they parked in Visby, there was 6 minutes. The vibrations were going on for 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's 80 seconds. And the worst vibrations were on for 23 seconds. So, on that day, November 30, 2014, at 1:21 p.m., the commander of Braathens Flight 929 made a decision that might have prevented a disaster. It's also my opinion that this captain, he kept calm in this extremely stressful situation, and he acted quickly and swiftly to sort out the problem. And finally, this captain's acting is a role model for an assertive leadership in an extremely severe situation. Thanks for watching. That's all for today. See you soon.